This is Griff with part 8, I believe, of my series, what I'm calling Ecclesiology for Sedevacantism, based on Dogmatic Theology, Volume 2, Christ Church, by Msgr G. Van Noort. Continuing, Article 2, Why the Church, on page 20. Proposition: the Church was founded in order that through and in it the Christian religion would be practiced and men would be made holy. This proposition is certain. Now that the fact of the Church's institution has been established, its purpose must be studied. Not its ultimate purpose, about which there can be no question, but its immediate and special purpose. This purpose includes two elements, but they are so intimately conjoined as to be practically inseparable: the practice of the Christian religion and the sanctification of mankind. Under the heading of the practice of the Christian religion are included the preaching, safeguarding, explanation, presentation, and profession of Christ's teaching, the celebration of Christian rites, sacrifice and sacraments, the instruction of people in Christian morality, and the actual living of life according to the norms imposed by this teaching. The supernatural sanctification of mankind is accomplished in no other way than by the practice of the Christian religion. People become holy by professing the Christian faith, by taking part in Christian rites, and by obeying Christian precepts. However, the holiness to be attained in this life is attained with a view to the bliss of the life to come. It follows then that the Church has a further purpose, eternal salvation itself. The statement of the proposition contains the words through and in it, for it is through the efforts of the Church, or more explicitly of its official personnel, that Christ's religion is preserved and practiced by the members of the Church. Again, it is through the active influence of the Church, of its official personnel, that the members of the Church are made holy. Well, look what our clerics have been doing, and they've done this. Give them credit where credit is due. This is what they've been doing. They've been making us holy. They've been doing all the things that the church hierarchical members have ever been doing. The Vatican Council indicates the Church's purpose in the following words: the eternal shepherd and the bishop of our souls determined to found a holy church in order that he might extend the salutary work of redemption throughout all ages. Of course, the work of redemption, as perpetuated by the Church, is not the redemption itself. It is not the offering of the price, which was the personal task of Christ himself, Hebrews 10:14, but rather the application of the redemption, which application consists in the sanctification of mankind through the practice of the Christian religion. Proof: 1. Christ gave the Church's pastors no other commission than that of preaching the gospel, of administering the sacraments, and of instructing the people in his precepts. Go therefore and initiate all nations in discipleship, baptize them, teach them to observe all the commandments I have given you. Matthew 28:17-20. See John 20:23. Consequently, all he expected of the peoples to whom he sent the apostles was that they accept his teaching, use his rites, and obey his commands. He that believes and is baptized will be saved, but he that does not believe will be condemned. Mark 16:16. But it is in precisely that way that the practice of the Christian religion is realized. The purpose of the Church, accordingly, is the practice of this religion, and a simultaneous conclusion is that the Church has as its purpose also the sanctification of mankind. Who's doing that? Novus Ordo's not doing that. Protestants and other religions aren't really doing that. What can they do? Their aim is off. So even if they try to do something good, it's limited by their faulty ideals. Only traditional Catholicism, most best and properly understood, of course, by us of the Sedevacantists community, but more implicitly by all traditional Catholics, is actually doing all of these things. For granting the obvious fact that the honor of God is the ultimate goal which the Christian religion has always in view, the practice of this religion has no other purpose than to make men holy. 2. The Church's purpose is to continue Christ's mission. As the Father has made me his ambassador, so I am making you my ambassadors. John 20:21. Also see Luke 10:19. But the object of Christ's mission was the sanctification of mankind. I have come that they may have life, and have it in abundance. John 10:10. After all, it is the mission of the Son of God to seek and save what is lost. Luke 19:10 and Matthew 1:21. Therefore, the church's purpose is the sanctification of mankind, and this can be accomplished only through the use of the means prescribed and provided by Christ, i.e., by the practice of the Christian religion. The conclusion is evident. Scholian 1. It follows from all the above that the church is a religious, spiritual, supernatural society. Such we are. Societies are classified especially on the basis of the goal at which they aim. And so we distinguish political societies, economic societies, literary societies, etc. But the purpose for which the society was founded is something religious, spiritual, and supernatural. The conclusion is evident. And so the church is quite different from a civil society, which seeks to advance the temporal welfare of its citizens. You see, but today's Vatican is only concerned really with temporal stuff. You ever notice that? It's because that's all they are. This is what Christ meant when he said, "My kingdom is not a worldly one." See, we're not doing any of that at all. One could argue even too little, but I'm sure we didn't concern ourselves with much of that in the earliest centuries either. John 18:36, also see Luke 12:14. i.e., it is not a kingdom like those which earthly kings govern. Its purpose is not limited to the sphere of the temporal. It is not a political kingdom. Give ear, then, Jews and Gentiles, listen, all kingdoms of the earth. I do not stand in the way of your exercising sway over this world. That's a quote here, St. Augustine. I'm looking at the footnote here. One can see at the same time that the spiritual character of the church does not at all militate against its being an external visible society. In the words of Leo XIII, from the point of view of church's ultimate purpose and proximate causes by which it produces holiness, it is definitely spiritual. On the other hand, from the point of view of the people who make it a cohesive group and of the actual rites which are productive of spiritual gifts, it is an external and necessarily conspicuous society. Scholian 2. It follows, too, that the church is the religion of Christ in concrete form. One can gather from what has been said that the church and the religion of Christ, though logically distinguishable, are, as a matter of fact, absolutely inseparable. For Christ himself so joined his religion to the society he founded that the one became inextricably intertwined and, as it were, cemented together with the others, who in fact got from Christ the power and the duty of preaching his doctrine, of celebrating his rite, and of instructing the nations in his commands. Well, obviously, if somebody's not doing that at all, then they obviously didn't get any such instruction, for he promised those who did have that instruction would by and large do so. So when somebody doesn't have that instruction, they don't do it. Our pastors have that instruction. That's why they're doing it. Whether they're conscious of that as such is immaterial to the fact that it exists. So, let's see here. None other than the pastors of the church. What do people do who want to practice Christ's religion? They profess the doctrine preached by the church's pastors. They make use of the rites performed by them. They live according to the disciplinary norms handed down by them. In a word, they submit to the teaching authority, to the ritual administrations, to the rule of the church. And there it is, right there. You find a traditional congregation. You allow them to teach you what to believe, how to worship, how to live. You obey them in their directions. They're their pastors in their direction. And that is what makes you a Catholic, and only that. Therefore, our Savior gave expression to his religion so completely in the church that apart from that church and without its ministrations, it is absolutely impossible to observe that religion in its integrity and to practice it properly. Well, that's just it. If our pastors aren't pastors, and nobody is, then that has just become impossible. Very important point. Enough for this section.